City of Maricopa Council meeting. First of all, I'd like to thank everybody for coming this evening. Staff, citizens of Maricopa, thank you for being here this evening. I would now like to call the meeting to order and call Pastor Kevin Teeling from the Door Church of Maricopa to deliver the invocation, and after which Council Member Amber Lieberman will give us the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise, if you can.
And you are perfect and excellent in all your ways, and we are not. We thank you that you sent your Son, Jesus Christ, into the world, who lived as our example and died as our sacrifice, and not only died, but rose again from the dead. And we pray that all would come to repentance and to know him, which is eternal life. Father, we thank you that on this day, nearly 80 years ago, brave men went into terrible danger and great hardship in order to lay their lives down that others may be free. And they secured for us and for many others the liberty we now enjoy. And we pray that this city government would conduct themselves now in that same spirit of selfless sacrifice, of unity of purpose, of seeking a larger cause. We pray that our first responders and all of our city employees would be blessed and protected and helped in the performance of their duties. And we pray for this council tonight, for Vice Mayor Vitiello and for Mayor Smith, that as they conduct their business, not only tonight, but also in the days to come, that they would be given clarity and wisdom for the performance of their duties, to know the good of the city, unity of purpose and courage to seek this, so that all of us here in this city may be blessed by their righteous administration. And we give you praise and thanks for all of this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor. Thank you, Councilman Lieberman. Roll call.
Councilmember Learman?
Here.
Councilmember Marsh? Councilmember Wade?
Here.
Councilmember Manfredi?
Here.
Councilmember Gettle?
Present.
Mayor Smith? Mayor Smith? Vice Mayor Vitiello?
Here.
Vice Mayor, we have a quorum.
Okay, next we're going to have a presentation from our wonderful representative, Teresa Martinez. Please step forward and do what you do best.
Teresa, can we ask you to make sure your mic is on? Is there a green light there? No, I can't.
Can you hear me now? Okay.
Thank you.
I am State Representative Teresa Martinez, covering LD 16, covering Maricopa, Casa Grande, Eloy, Coolidge, Stanfield, Red Rock, small part of Tucson, Auction, and the Gila River Indian communities. And I want to thank the mayor and vice mayor and the council for giving me this opportunity to give you a legislative update. Although we have not sine died yet, we did finish the budget. This was a bipartisan budget of $17.8 billion, and I wanted to go over some highlights. We reduced the state budget by 1.6%. I know that's not a lot, but every little bit helps. Last year's budget was over $18 billion, and this year it is less than that, it is $17 billion. This budget got $2.5 billion in one-time spending. There was a one-time $260 million tax rebate for anyone with dependent children under the age of 18 years old, up to $250 per child for a maximum of 3 children, for a total max of $750 state rebate. Each Republican member was able to direct $20 million to spend on a one-time projects that the member wanted. The Democrats opted to combine all their money for statewide projects. I believe those projects were for Housing Trust Fund of $150 million, short-term housing fund that got $60 million, and that's for emergency housing for homelessness, and K-12 education, $100 million of one-time statewide. The $20 million that I was allotted and the bills that I ran were very district specific, and they were the following: $5 million to the city of Coolidge for road improvements for Coolidge Avenue, $5 million to the city of Eloy for road improvements on I-10 Sunlingen Road and the I-10 Erica Road. I sponsored House Bill 2449, which was $9.2 million for the east-west corridor for the Casa Grande Maricopa Freeway, which connects both cities, although I believe you call that road Maricopa Casa Grande Freeway. I sponsored House Bill 2532 for $700,000 for a study for State Route 87. Now, to be completely honest, that bill, I originally asked for $9 million for the whole construction of that, but I did only get $700,000. But I secured the money for a study, which is the first necessary step to complete that project. So that's going to get on the road. I also sponsored House Bill 2448 for $25 million for the Santa Rosa Canal, which is going to affect the Stanfield Auction water settlement. Then there was House Bill 2453, which was a mirror bill to Senator Shope's I-10 bill, which got killed twice. And then we saved it by adding it to House Bill 2449. And I know you know all about that, but for the public who may be watching, there are several bills that get killed and never make it through the entire process. And the I-10 bill did get killed twice, but we saved it at the end. And the I-10 is going to receive an additional $89 million because everyone knows how important the I-10 is. Another mirror bill that I put together was House Bill 2553 for $18 million for widening of State Route 347. Senator Shope and I worked together to sponsor these identical bills as a safety precaution. His bill for the I-10 was killed, and so because of that, we're like, no, we need a mirror bill for 347 just in case. And luckily that bill was not killed, and so Senator Shope's bill was able to move forward. So we're really happy about that. $2 million went to the Gila River Indian Community for Seed Farm Road. House Bill 2063, which directed $10 million to Maricopa for the use of State Route 238. And that was a bill that had some hiccups. It was originally for $13 million. And we got into a really ugly fight in Senate Transportation. They hit me, I hit them, and so we walked out with $10 million instead of the $13 million. That's just the truth. So, and we move on. So we also got $20,000 for the Pinal County Juvenile Center for capital improvements. I think that was really important. The juvie kids really still need to be educated, and we wanted to give them some money to do that. And then $20,000 for Pinal CASA program, which is a foster care program for Pinal County foster kids. As a member of leadership, I was able to direct some additional money to projects of importance to our region above and beyond the $20 million I was allotted. For example, the $25 million to the Santa Rosa Canal was funded through the WIFA, which is the Water Infrastructure Finance Authority for water projects. So not only did I get my $20 million, but we got then some for additional projects like the I-10 and the water infrastructure that we were able to convince all the other members that this is statewide importance. But they came to our district, and we're really proud of that. The session wasn't easy, and it wasn't perfect. There were fights, tears, bad language used, deal-making, sweet-talking, and a whole bunch of pretty please. But we were able to come together, get a budget pass in less time than anyone expected. But overall, we as a county, we as LD16, we did very well. I'm going to go off script and tell you about people who did not do well. We had a gentleman, wonderful man by the name of Diego Espinoza, who was a representative last year. He acquired $45 million for a slip ramp in Avondale and Tolleson. For whatever reason, ADOT did not fund that last year, and all that money went back to the general fund, which has got me really, really scared. And so I want you to know that I've already requested meetings with ADOT in my office with 2 other representatives so that we can be on them about finishing these projects on time and getting them through the process. Now, to add a little bit of color, because you know that I'm a colorful person, as soon as we're in a meeting with ADOT, I have overlapped a meeting with the Auditor General to come to my office, and the Auditor General is currently auditing ADOT. So as ADOT is leaving, the Audit General is coming in so that they know that I mean business, because nobody's taking our money from us. Not for the 347, not for the 238, not for Seed Farm Road, not for the I-10, not without a fight. Tears, bad language, and a whole bunch of pretty pleasing. Now back to the script, otherwise I'll get in trouble. Being in leadership was a challenge, but I do think it was worth it. But what truly made it successful was the support I had. I had support from Senator Shope, who worked with me and had my back in the Senate. We ran mirror bills together. When my bill died, his survived. When his I-10 bill was killed, we saved it by putting it on my bill in the Senate. We truly worked as a team. Partnership, and it was extremely helpful. But also in the partnership, I had with the city of Maricopa. And what I think you all need to know, and what I think the public needs to know, is how hard you guys fought for them. All of you. What you may not know is that your city council called me, texted me, emailed me, sent me Facebook messages, asking about your roads, asking about what was right for you, how these bills affected the city of Maricopa. No one was looking, no one was watching. They all fought for you over and over and over again. And I just want you to know you're very lucky. Not all city councils reached out to me, and I'm sad to say that, but they didn't. But yours, they fought for you tooth and nail, and they were on me to make sure that we were working together. And I seriously thank you, and the public needs to know how hard all of you work for them, and for that, I thank you. Yes, please thank them. Now back to the script, because I get sidetracked. Some people do well solo, like events, Some people run track because it's a solo event. They just have to depend on them. And some people like the game of football where you rely on a team. And even though my sister hates it that I mention this football analogy over and over and over again, it's true, because I think we make a great team. Now, moving forward, Sine Die is around the corner. Not too around the corner for the lobbyists sitting in the audience, but it is on the horizon. And some of the things that I am going to be working on, I wanted to let you know. The number one thing is I'm going to be looking very closely at the funding and how the agencies are spending their money. ADOT has run amok, I'm sorry to say. And what they're trying to do by pushing back certain projects that affect Maricopa to 2025 is completely inappropriate. And I will be fighting for that. That's not gonna happen without a fight at the very least. I've also started to reach out to, and I know some of you are already aware of this, but I want to start putting together small groups I want to put together legislation for next session that doesn't come from lobbyists, but comes from us. So I'm going to be looking to you, the city council, for ideas about government, to the chamber for ideas about how to grow business and how to bring more businesses and jobs into the city of Maricopa. I'm going to be working with your nonprofits, with Jim, to see how we can start to fight some of these crises. I want to start doing things that help. I'm going to need everybody's help. And I want to do something about teen suicide. And I'm going to need your help and your insight so we can create the Trey Lieberman bill. 'Cause I love and adore you. And I just want you to know that when I go up there and I start running these bills for next session, it's not going to be some random bill. It's going to be a bill and a piece of legislation that this community thought of, supported, and cheered on. And this is going to be us. And with that, I thank you so much and stand for any questions you may have. Thank them, because they're awesome.
Council, anybody?
Vice Mayor, I would like to.
I was getting, yes, Mayor, please do so.
I just wanted to thank President, we are, and sometimes we have to upgrade, but a lot of the city of Maricopa, I want to Martinez and all of our, and I definitely want to for that family. Thank you.
If I can translate for the mayor, what the mayor was saying is how great it is to work with Teresa, and Representative Martinez makes it easy to pester her. So a lot of representatives that we've had in the past, or maybe we'll have in the future, who knows, they don't want to hear from the city council members. They don't want to hear from us. They just want to do what they want to do, right? So their ideology leads. With Teresa, it's a lot different, and TJ and others, it's different because they seek you out, and if they don't hear from you, they're contacting us, and they're asking us, and Teresa's sending us a text on a Sunday afternoon saying, hey, there's a bill coming up on Monday, this is what it is, what do you guys think? And that's something that's refreshing and new. So hopefully that's what the mayor was saying, and how it's so much easier to work with a representative that really does want to represent. So that's the good thing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Teresa, I'd like to personally thank you.
Oh.
Like you said, Vince, the mayor said, you could call her on a Sunday, you could call her on a Monday, you could call her 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, and I have done that at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I've
Yes,
spoken
you
to her.
have. Yes, you have.
And I got to tell you something, it is so easy to work with her. And it also helps that she's got family in this city. Very important to understand that if we don't get to her, we will get to her family. Yes,
In a good way.
yes. So I just want to personally thank you for your service, and I'm looking for 2 more years of your service.
Oh, thank you.
And God bless you, and thank you for what you do for the city of Maricopa.
Thank you. Thank you all. Oh.
Excuse me?
Brought up a question for me,
Oh.
or a comment from me. The purpose and the beauty of city council is that it is a nonpartisan entity. That we operate for all individuals in the community, regardless of their political affiliations or what have you. It's nice to have a representative that also understands that and shares that in understanding that although they, in the legislature, identify themselves as Ds and Rs and whatever, we have a representative that identifies themselves as a person who's concerned about the city of Maricopa. And that's what we want, and that's what we've got. And I say that with a D behind my name, knowing that she has an R behind hers, but it is us that she's concerned with. And I think that that's the very most important thing we can say.
Thank you so much for saying that, and I truly appreciate you saying that, and I am that person. I am going to support us. all of us, regardless of party.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Vice Mayor. In maybe a more direct translation from Mayor Smith, she just wants to really give you her heartfelt thanks for all of the hard work that you put forward this session, including your willingness to look forward to the future and what is it that we can bring to the table that will help build Maricopa and support our residents here. And so that's directly from the mayor, and echo her sentiments as well. Thank you for your wonderful work this season.
Thank you.
No, I was going to actually just say the same thing because she texted us both. Technology is great.
Speaking of texting, if you don't have my cell number, here it is one more time, 520-709-2311. I just ask that you say, although I know I have you in my contacts, but hi, it's Amber from Maricopa, or Antonia or Sylvia from Maricopa, although I do have Antonia and Sylvia in my contacts, but just in case, because I do want to hear from everyone. So, thank you, guys. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on to the report from the mayor and council. Council, is there anybody who has something to say? Mayor Smith?
I do, but I don't think
Oh, okay.
Vice Mayor.
Oh.
Good evening. I just wanted to make sure to invite you all to the Teen Hall that is this Saturday, put on by Be Awesome, who is here this evening. It is Saturday the 10th at Copper Sky from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. They're going to have amazing speakers and events for teens, so please make sure to make that event. And then I also just wanted to invite everyone to the ADOT Town Hall meeting at 6:30 p.m. at the library. And I did not write down the date for that one. I'll look it up. I'll let you guys know. The 15th. Thank you, James. Thank you. That's it.
Anybody else? So I just want to say, I got to attend the Memorial Day raising of the flag. It was an awesome event. We had, I would say, roughly 60 people, 70 people show up. It was very heartwarming to see people come up and talk about their loved ones, their friends, their neighbors, their parents. My father was actually a Korean War veteran. So he came to America and he signed into Ellis Island, and they said, "Welcome to America, welcome to New York. You are now enlisted into the U.S. Army." And they shipped him back to Italy with an American uniform on. So I have to tell you that my father passed away in 2015, and just having a veteran in my family just makes me realize what we live here for and how we get to live here, freedom. I just absolutely love living in this country. I absolutely love living in this city, and we love what we do here as a council, as one goal, one team, and that's what we do. Then the other thing I want to talk about is the 347. As you all know, that's a passion of this whole council. The mayor speaks about it every single council meeting. Tomorrow, I'm going to go stand in front of Pinell County supervisors, along with four other citizens, to talk about the 347 and ask for them to pony up and put some money into this. We need their money to help build the 347. Without them coming to the table, without the county coming to the table, it's going to be difficult. We need the county, we need ADOT, we need federal funds. This is what we work on day in and day out, every one of us here at the council. The mayor does. That's all she loves speaking about. Other things are important too, but right now we know that along with being in a safe city, which we are a very safe city, we need to fix the 347 because that's going to also help with economic development. So when I get people saying, you guys just talk about it, come ride our coattails and see what we do day in and day out and listen to what the people of this city do. We need your voice, please. Email them. County, email ADOT. Be nice. Get more with honey than you will with vinegar. So just help us with the voice of Maricopa, because that's how we work together. That's how we got the overpass. It took 15 years to get that, and let's pray that it's not going to take 15 years to build the 347. So that's all I have to say. Okay, so now, City Manager, do you have anything to say? Nothing? Okay. Report from Mayor. So now we're going to have the call to the public. I will now open the call to the public. If you wish to come up, please have a speaker card, and if you don't have a speaker card, you can come up and speak. Let's make sure that we're being kind and courteous to the council members, citizens here in the council chambers, online, and same with staff. So please, I will start with Marlene Holman. If I don't say your name right, I apologize for that. You guys get 3 minutes to speak. Just to give us your name, please.
I'm Madeline Homan.
I'm Sawyer Coatney.
Good evening, council members. Me and Sawyer are community impact interns for Be Awesome. We know how hard it is for local tweens and teens to find something to do in Maricopa, especially when it's summer, and the heat limits our outdoor options. That is why we have been planning a variety of activities for tweens and teens this summer so they can connect, be safe, and stay out of trouble. We wanted to bring your attention to some of the activities we have planned and how the community can get involved. First is our Teen Hall event. It's this Saturday at Copper Sky from 10 to 2. The event provides teens and their parents access to resources and opportunity to hear directly from experts on issues that matter to teens and their parents. Lunch will be provided, a free t-shirt for those who pre-register.
Next is our 3-on-3 basketball tournament that we're putting on. The tournament is open to all high school students in the Maricopa area, high school students that are going to be in high school this next school year. And we're hoping to get up to 16 teams signed up for it. The tournament is on June 21st. It's from 2 to 6 p.m. at Copper Sky. Teams will consist of 4 players each, and they'll compete in a single elimination co-ed format for the tournament. Those interested in registering can do so at our website, www.beawesomeyouth.life, and the winning team will receive a trophy and cash prizes. It's free to register, and the top prize for the tournament winner is $400, courtesy of Exceptional Health. Ways you guys can help are to help spread the word so local youth can register and get connected with the community, or you can donate to help increase our capacity and reach even more youth this summer. So thank you for your time.
Next, I have Brittany McCaffrey.
Good evening, City Council. My name is Jen Ferguson. This is Brittany. She's our president of Little Whiskers Animal Rescue. I am a board member. If you're on any of the Maricopa Facebook pages, you have heard of us, I guarantee it. We are here tonight to talk about a very serious matter happening in our city, which is the need for a city animal shelter. This is long overdue. Maricopa is in a crisis for the lack of resources for animals and for the people helping. Now, Maricopa's population has grown over 11,000 people within just the past 5 years, which is projected to grow over 15,000 people within the next few years, totaling Maricopa having about 90,000 residents. And we've been doing this for 5 years, and every year we get called to help animals, and every year we're getting more and more and more. It's getting worse and worse and worse. Now, Maricopa's population is now larger than other surrounding cities and is now one of the fastest growing cities in the U.S. So without having a city shelter, the problem is just going to get worse. Local animal control currently offers assistance to dogs, not cats. And they only come from Casa Grande, and they only work Monday through Thursday. So many of the residents here in Maricopa, they call 911 or the non-emergency numbers for animal-related issue, and that takes time away from other serious related issues. So it's another reason. We, as a local 501c3 rescue organization, we get up to 40 calls, messages, Facebook tags a day, morning, noon, and night, asking for assistance with injured, stray, unwanted animals. We also receive calls from city workers. These calls include ones from the Maricopa Police Department, from the Maricopa Fire Department, who are in need of assistance with an animal due to various emergencies. They call us and other rescues here in town. The city of Maricopa is also paying, oh my goodness, what is that? Now County Animal Control, a surrender fee of each animal that comes with the city. Now those funds could go towards a city shelter instead. The city is becoming overrun by street cats, which is leading to the spread of various diseases and unwanted litters of kittens throughout the city. A city shelter would also help reunite lost pets with their owners here in Maricopa a lot more quickly. Just within the past year, we have assisted in over 619 animals here in the city of Maricopa dating June 2022 till current without the support from the city. Now, many times when we receive calls, we are told, the people tell us that they were told to contact us from animal control or the local 911 dispatch. They tell them to call us. Now, we as a local nonprofit are drowning without other options here in Maricopa. Now, we have collected over 5,000 signatures via online and on paper of residents in favor of a city shelter. So in conclusion, the city needs options, whether it is a city shelter or bettering the local rescues here in town who are assisting with the care and proper allocation of these animals, as well as controlling the animal population in this town, including trap, neuter, release programs, which we fund out of pocket. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ran out of time.
Vice Mayor, may I invite our city manager to perhaps get with these wonderful individuals and see what maybe some options might be for our city to look at this option? Thank you.
Ladies, City Manager Horst will give you a card, and you guys can contact him. Our next speaker card will be Barry McCain.
Good evening, Vice Mayor Vitello and City Council, staff, and of course friends. My name is Barry McCain from 36609. I'm trying to get it West Montserrat Street. First of all, I can't give a high enough endorsement of Representative Martinez, knowing that she's been there for me. If she sees me on the anywhere in Pinal County, she'd say, "What's the matter, Barry?" I can't say enough, and this session has been so exhausting. Thank you so much. Vice Mayor, I'll see you tomorrow. So if you need me, I'm going to be there, brother. Okay. We never deny history. I agree that we're a republic, as is pointed out to me, but we go by a democratic process of law. Both President James Madison and Alexander Hamilton believed that if the democracy were to die, that it would happen at the hands of a faction. The definition of a faction is a party or group, as with a government, that is often contentious or self-seeking. Both President Madison and Alexander Hamilton felt the greatest threat to democracy would be rooted not in class but ethnic identity. We both know that ethnic identity is bad for democracy. We have examples of it in civil rights movement, Vietnam, Venezuela, Ivory Coast, Ukraine, and Sarajevo. How do you say that? Sarajevo, whatever, the one that blew up. So it's like, and it's like, but Venezuela slid into an authoritarian government, and Ivory Coast descended into civil war. I thought America was known for tolerance and our respect for others. I have explained previously that Democratic leadership seems to not believe in democratic principles and ideas, but factionalism and ethnic identity. I love my country too much to tolerate either. So the next election, we got them coming up here, we should vote for someone who wants to unite our country, not separate our country.
Is there anybody else who'd like to come and speak?
Good evening, Vice Mayor, Council, staff, fellow Maricopans, Peg Chapados, and I'm here tonight to officially announce that the 3rd annual Maricopa Main Street Marketplace is open and accepting applications for artisans. It'll be Small Business Saturday, which is November 25th. We're back at Leading Edge Academy again, and we're looking for any homemade or handmade items. Every year our event has been bigger and better, and this year we've got a lot of new artisans signed up already. We're partnering with some nonprofits to make sure that they get face time to help support all forms of art in our city. If you have any questions, you can get a hold of me. I'll be here till the end of the meeting, or follow us on Facebook or Instagram. Thank you.
Thank you, Peg. Is there anybody else who'd like to come speak?
Hello, my name is Linda. I had been looking for something that I could share with everyone. I guess we have to realize now that we're under attack. If it's not infamil, it's eggs. If it's not burning down of certain chicken structures or houses, and our food is being tainted or worked with, our water, you know, there's something wrong. So I have one of these for each one of you that I would like to share with you. I hope that you'll read it. I found this booklet, you know, to be very good. Our time is precious, and we don't have a lot of time to read a whole lot. But this gets down to the who, what, where, why, and how we should be responding to some of the things that are attacking us. So I don't know how to get it to you. Can I approach the bench? I feel like I'm back in court. And so really, that's it. I love America. I think that that book is the counter to the Great Reset, is the Great Awakening. So the more that we know how we're being attacked, the more that we can pivot to move out of its way and maybe build, you know, the counter to that. So that's all. Thank you.
Okay, if there's no one else, I'll close the call to the public. Step up, young lady. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Kip, and to all of the elected council members, happy to be here this evening. Just a small request, just would like to put this out for consideration. It would be really nice to have more plant-based restaurants to choose from here in Maricopa. I saw that there's Roots that's being advertised in the local magazine that I just picked up in the lobby, but I think it would be nice to have more variety in terms of just people who have a plant-based diet. And so I, just in terms of recommendations, Salad and Go, which is a drive-through restaurant. I have a lot of, I guess, locations in the Phoenix area, and they seem to always be full with customers, so it would be really nice to see one of those here in Maricopa, and maybe even like a Loving Hut, which is a vegan restaurant. So just for consideration meals on the go that are plant-based. Thank you.
Okay, is there anybody else who'd like to come speak? Okay, we will close the call to the public. I'm going to move on to the consent agenda. I do have a speaker card, but she would not like to speak.
So, Mr. Mayor, or you can pull for that item they want to speak on, you can pull it from consent, do consent, and then bring that item back.
So that will be 7.2 we'll pull for right now. We have the consent agenda from 7.1, 7.3, 7.4, 7.5, and 7.6. Does the council have any questions? Do I have a motion? So moved. Wade? Lieberman? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. So on 7.2, we're going to have the speaker, if she'd like to come, up and speak. I'm sorry, I'm going to ruin this, but the last name looks like Anderson. Oh! Apologize for that, ma'am.
Oh, no worries.
Sorry.
Can I go back over there now? Everything, do I need to say anything?
Well, do you have anything you'd like to say on 7.2?
No, I selected, I don't want to speak because I didn't, but if I have to. We're just a family-owned restaurant. We have 4 locations in the East Valley, and we are expanding out here. We're hoping to be open end of October, early November.
That is fantastic. You're welcome to the greatest city in the state of Arizona. Thank you.
Thank you.
So with that, do I have a motion to approve 7.2? Second? All in favor? Passes. We'll move on to the irregular agenda. First item on the agenda, 8.1. The first item is 8.1, a resolution to approve and adopt a minor general plan land change to using the existing mixed use to employ approximately 2.2 acres for the general location of the northwest corner of Green Road alignment and West McDavid Road within the city of Maricopa Incorporated limits in case of GPA 23-03. We have a speaker on this. It's all yours, sir.
Good evening, Vice Mayor Vitiello, members of the council. My name is Alexander Bosworth. I'm one of the planners here for the city of Maricopa, and I'm presenting tonight items 8.1 and 8.2. These are 2 concurrent requests for a general plan amendment, a minor amendment, and a concurrent rezone by the city for a 2-acre city-owned property. And I just want to preface this by stating that this is part of an effort by the city to clean up our zoning map, clean up our general plan map for city-owned properties to best reflect the current uses. The site in question for this case is the Maricopa Recycling Center, located on the corner of West McDavid Road and the alignment of North Green Road, just north of the Maricopa Meadows subdivision. The minor general plan amendment, as noted in this slide, will change the land use from mixed use to employment. And the rezone will effectively amend the zoning map from general rural to light industrial to best reflect the present recycling center. As required by city code, the city has conducted the required public notification, which included a neighborhood meeting, a public hearing at the Planning and Zoning Commission, and tonight at the City Council meeting. As part of the review process, staff has found that the rezone request and the general plan amendment satisfy the requirements as forth by the zoning code and the general plan. And therefore, staff is recommending that the mayor, city council approve case GPA 2303 and ZON 2302. And just a reminder that these are two separate items that each require their own motion and action. And that concludes my presentation. I'm open to any questions from the vice mayor and council.
Did you conduct a notification of the surrounding areas? I didn't see that on the previous slide.
Councilmember Wade, yes, let me go back to the slide here. Yes, notification letters went out to all local utilities, public agencies, also everybody within 600 feet of the site. Newspaper notice and a sign posting was posted on the site.
Okay, thank you.
Questions? Okay, if not, I get a motion to approve. Second?
It's a public hearing.
Oh, public hearing. I apologize on that one. Is there anybody who has any questions on this particular matter? Hearing? Not, we're going to close it. Got a motion? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Now we'll move on to 8.3. 8.3 is a presentation regarding...
Vice Mayor, we have to do the resolution and the 8.1, 8.2 separately. So we assume the first motion was for 8.1. If we can take a motion on 8.2, which is the zoning.
Take a vote on that.
There's no...
Okay. So read the ordinance, or I just have to take a, since it was, okay. So I'd like to get a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second? Got a second from Ms. Lieberman. All in favor?
Aye.
Passes. Now we'll move on to 8.3. I do have a speaker card on this, so the request was to speak after. Is that okay? Thank you. Presentation regarding the potential update to the facility rental policy. This item is for discussion only. Shane Stone will do the presentation.
Can you hear me okay if I stand up straight? Excellent. Good evening, Vice Mayor Vitiello, Mayor Smith, members of the City Council. I am Shane Stone, currently Police Executive Administrator, although this evening I'm kind of reprising my old role as Assistant to the City Manager. Before you tonight, we have a discussion-only item on a draft facility rental policy, which was in your packets, and this really was born out of the discussion at the Futures Planning session we held earlier this year, in which it was communicated that we want to make sure that facilities are available to our community and available to organizations that serve our community as well, without being overburdensome in cost, while also, of course, being protected for use for years to come. So with that in mind, this is the big ticket item, the fee structure that we've built into this draft, which you're going to see a base rate, a non-resident rate of 125% of that base rate, a resident discount of 25% off, and a nonprofit discounted rate of 35% off. Those groups seem pretty clear-cut, but of course there are always gray areas, so we've clearly defined those in the policy. A resident is an individual that resides within the city of Maricopa and city limits and can provide proof of such. They aren't eligible for the resident rate if it's for a commercial purpose, which is also clearly defined as a use which results in their financial gain, business financial gain, or promotes the commercial interests of themselves or a business. And then a nonprofit group is a organization recognized by the IRS as a 501c3 organization. There are a couple of other associated costs to keep in mind that are built into the policy. First of all, a parameter, discounts are limited to once per week, except for athletic teams and leagues. Those groups, by the very nature of what they do, are generally going to be back a few times a week, and we're accustomed to that. Other groups, this is just in there to make sure they can't take up a facility, 10 to 2 every day and take advantage of that discount and keep other organizations from possibly being able to use the facility. Hard costs are to be charged on top of rates without discount, and so the fees really are to maintain that facility over the long term of its life. Those hard costs are costs that the city would incur directly as a result of that use. So it's, here's the cost for us to provide that, so we've got to pass that along. And then it clarifies that deposits are up to 120% of the rental fee or an amount appropriate to cover damage risks, again, protecting that facility for many years of future use. So this screen is current field rental rates. There are a lot of numbers on the screen. I'm going to bring your eye to a few things. First of all, the bottom half of that screen are those hard costs that we're talking about, right? So right now you're going to see there's a little bit of change as you look across the screen, but we're going to make those simpler to implement. At the top, you're going to see the Pecana multi-purpose field. And our range there right now is $7 to $16 per hour. And the real dividing line on that is whether it's a youth use or an adult use. I also want to draw your attention to that fourth line, the Copper Sky multi-gen lawn. If you're a nonprofit that wants to host a big event in Maricopa, this may be exactly what you're looking at. And right now we're at $100 to $135 on that use. So what would it look like under this new policy? These aren't exact numbers because we don't have proposed fees in front of you this evening, but it could look something like this. So you'll notice the hard costs are uniform across the board. So it creates a uniform expectation for community members on what that would cost. The Pecana multi-purpose field, it was $7 to $16, it's $8 to $16. But that really reflects what was talked about in the futures planning discussion. The lower costs are going to go to residents, to members of the Maricopa community who have paid to build these facilities, to maintain them, and to nonprofits who serve that same community. They're on the lower end rather than it being adult youth use. Also on the Copper Sky multi-gen lawn, again, that big space that nonprofits do sometimes use for big events, we are at $100 to $130. You're going to see it's, for residents, it's at $98 with a sample price and $85 for nonprofits. So we're bringing greater affordability to those groups, the community, and organizations that serve it. Current room rentals, so that was fields, this is rooms. That top line, you're going to see 100, 125. This is already separated based on resident, non-resident, but there's no nonprofit discount, and we wanted to bring that uniformity across the city. So if I'm renting a field or I'm renting a room, I'm going to get the same experience because a lot of organizations that rent one of those are going to in turn rent the other. In rooms, this is specifically for the library, those hard costs are already created uniformly. And so with that example, again, we're going from 100 to 125 on that top line, to 81 for nonprofit, something like 94 for residents, shifting more of that cost to groups, to individuals who haven't paid for these facilities through their regular share of taxes and fees that you may pay as a Maricopa resident. So there's the fees in the draft policy. There also are the rental guidelines included in that. At the top, you're going to see that to use a nonprofit discount right now in the policy, an event must be open to the public and not charge a fee. The philosophy behind the nonprofit discount is for events that are serving the public, and to serve the public, it would obviously need to be open to that same public. Also, it is stipulated that it must be to the service of the city of Maricopa. That's just, so for example, the Denver Arts Council says, hey, they have some really great facility space down in Maricopa. Let's go to Arizona for a weekend and have our retreat there. I'm sure they do great work for the folks in Denver, if that organization exists with that name, but they don't serve the Maricopa community, and that's really what the discount is for. Second, renting parties shall respect all capacities, restrictions, guidelines presented to them by staff. That's pretty standard language. They won't deliberately cause damage to the facility, and they do accept responsibility for any damage they may cause. The city's not liable for damages they may incur. Again, working through some standard language issues. Facilities rented shall not be used in a manner that promotes illegal activities. That was just to hedge off some future issues that could come to light. And then as we continue, city facilities shall be used in a manner consistent with the original intent of the facility. And I want to be clear on the purpose of that. It's really so that way if we get an outlandish request, we have something in policy we can point to. So for example, at the Redwood room in the library, I said, I want to rent that room to have a dirt bike show, right? We're going to be revving the engines, it's going to be nice and loud so people get excited about these, and they can go drive them around out there. We have something we can point to in policy to say, look, this sounds like a great event, it sounds like fun, but that's not the purpose of this facility. It's really to bring the community together for personal development, right? On top of that, departments renting facilities may require proof of insurance. We just wanted something in the policy to point that out. Violating guidelines can result in being disallowed from renting facilities, and that's at the authority of the city manager or their designee. And that's done so it's somebody that's responsive to the council, responsive to the public, and we know it's going to be a level-headed decision that considers all factors. It's not going to be, you brought 16 people into a room for 15, you're banned for 5 years. It's just going to be the ability, if we do have something, again, kind of off the wall, we have an enforcement mechanism to lean back on. And then facilities available for rent are generally booked on a first-come, first-served basis. And we know that this was really about serving the community with fairness and equity, and that just reflects that. So that concludes the overview of the draft policy and where it's at. We very much want your feedback on this and want to answer any questions that you have. This is an administrative policy, but we need that community outlook on it. It's so public reaching. And of course, there are fees that would be associated because the fee structure would be different than what's been previously approved by this council. So that's something that would need to come back to you. But before the policy were implemented administratively, we want to make sure to have your perspective, your buy-in, your outlook on things. So yield to any questions and appreciate your attention.
Council, anybody have questions? Yeah, we after the fact.
Yeah, if I may, Vice Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Mr. Stone, thank you for your presentation today. If you could go back just 3 slides for me real quick. One more, I'm sorry, forward one. So that first, under rental guidelines, to receive a nonprofit discount, an event must be open to the public and not charge an entrance fee. In the case of let's say it's a large event where multiple venues of Copper Sky are being rented or leased out, if there were to be an aspect of that event, maybe it was a private luncheon or something along those lines, would that then disqualify that whole event from being considered as a nonprofit, or maybe just that room rental as nonprofit?
Councilmember Gettle, thank you for that question. So that could be handled a couple of different ways, right? If you're booking the whole facility with one booking, it could disqualify. But what you could do as well is you could book those separate places and say this is going to be a discounted rate. You know, this room for the luncheon that requires you to buy a plate, the rest of it could qualify for that discounted rate. I think that's something we could clarify in that policy.
Thank you. And thank you, Vice Mayor. If I can have one more question. Has there been any discussion of larger discounts if multiple venues are being leased for the same event? The same example I gave you, maybe there's 3 rooms at Copper Sky in the lawn. Would there be a considerable discount if a larger venue wanted to come in?
Yes, thank you for that question as well, Councilmember Gettle. So that is something that we have considered. We've at least discussed, and we could clarify that through the policy to say, so for example, that I'll go back to Redwood A and Redwood B here. Redwood A is $49 for a nonprofit. Redwood B is $49. That would total up to $98. Under this policy, you still could have that. We're going to add them together. You get $81 because those costs are lower, right, to administrate a rental of that room. So that certainly would be allowed, and we could clarify that further as well.
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Jane, the only question I would have, if somebody was to commit to, say, a full year of whichever room, it doesn't really matter, would there be a consideration for some kind of discount? So if they said, I want to book it for 12 months on this Monday night?
So Vice Mayor Vidiello, thank you very much for that question, because that gives me a chance to clarify something. The entire policy is for general rentals, right? And there may be exceptions to some of these things, such as if someone wants to book for a year, that would likely be something that would be contracted with the city. And the policy does not pertain to contracts or MOUs with organizations. So we have the ability to do some different things if it's a larger agreement. But for your standard rental, right, we want to have a set policy and expectation.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Council, hold.
I'll try and do it in her voice, but I'll probably be bad at it. The mayor has texted me a few things and asked me to say them. Anyway, the mayor said, I support being able to book 2 months in a row so that they can announce their next 2 meetings at any point. I also want to support the ability to plan one big event up to a year in advance. So the ability to book a couple months in advance, probably not 12. And I kind of agree with that myself too. And then she also mentioned that proof of 501c3 may be the only way to go because membership nonprofits such as Historical Society should have a discounted rate as they are significant value to the city and residents, which we already have in there, the nonprofit rate. She also mentions that I think nonprofits need one opportunity per calendar year for a fundraiser of sorts. So maybe getting the nonprofit price, but being able to sell tickets and only ticket holders can attend, where the policy right now is stating that it has to be open to the public. She thinks nonprofits should be able to have one event where they get the nonprofit rate, even though it's not open to the public. That's what the mayor mentioned. And then I think that was it. And then no free rentals for all. Should at least be residents if anything is ever free. I don't know. She'll text me again to tell me I'm wrong at what I just said, but I'll wait for it. For me personally, I look at it as, we have very limited space in the city of Maricopa to hold events, to hold meetings, to get together and do things. I just rented the space in the library for a business event, and I'm paying, I think it's like $800 or $700 at the library for a couple of hours for the 2 Redwood A and B in July. So, I understand that it's hard. There's not a lot of places to have events. And then a lot of people will say, well, we got to make it cheaper and cheaper so that more and more people can use our facilities. And that maybe that would even spur some private investment in event space. But I don't know if that's possible, because if we cater to and keep building event space as a community and making it cheaper and cheaper, unfortunately, private entities won't build space because you can get it from the city cheaper. So why would I ever build a space that I can rent out? I personally rent out a conference room in my office on Honeycutt, and I charge more per square foot than the city does for that space. So it works. But the way I look at it is, I want to be as cheap as possible for our residents. I want to make sure our residents always get first chance over non-residents. And non-residents, I wouldn't mind if you raised it even more, because our residents pay for the maintenance of Copper Sky every year. Our residents are out there putting in the work at Copper Sky to keep it going, i.e. paying their taxes, right? So yeah, I'm okay with raising it for non-residents, actually even more than we already have. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Manfredi and Mayor Smith, both for your questions on that. A couple of things that reminded or gave me a chance to clarify. So there is a stipulation about there being space. You can make space free, right? If a department has facilities that they rent out. And that was really written with the library in mind, who has some small rooms, some study type rooms that you can book for free. And we just wanted to clarify that's okay to do. So that way it didn't seem like they had to set some sort of fee. On the large event space, or having a large event 12 months out, my understanding, and this was done working with folks from the city manager's office and folks that are regularly doing these rentals, working with those members of the community, is that a lot of times those are going to be larger agreements, right? And again, we go back to, if there's a contract or an MOU with an organization, it does go outside of this, it can go outside of this policy. So that could be booked further in the future than what may be available. But also, as you generally read the policy, it's really written as a document for administratively, but also with the input of council, for us to set some guidelines to say, we need to be doing at least this, right? So when it says it shall generally be made available to be booked 6 months in advance, that's saying it should be available at least 6 months in advance. And I think with one or two words, maybe we could make that a little more clear as I read that this evening. But the entire policy is written that way to say, we want to make sure we're doing at least this for our community. Much like the fees are on a schedule right now where they're a broader range, and so that way it can be set by staff to be lower in many cases than the range allows for.
Great. And then just to follow up with what the mayor texted me, said, yeah, okay. It's okay with those library rooms being free. That's always a good thing. I do know there's a conference room in there that people can just go in, sign up, and use. It doesn't cost anything. She likes the idea of 6 months is for non-recurring, or 6 months is non-recurring. Recurring is only 1 month in advance, right? And then, all right, that's the mayor. I'm going to put that over there. And then with me, with the year in advance stuff, I look at it where if you're having a wedding or an anniversary party for your 50th anniversary and you want to rent out the lawn at Copper Sky and have or Sweet 16 or whatever it is. So those things you have to look at is if we don't allow more than 6 months or something, you might get stuck with not having a venue because you got to do everything else with it. You know, the caterer wants all their stuff and all that stuff. So that's a little different, but yeah, thank you.
Thank you, council member. And that feedback, as well as your previous feedback in the comments, is exactly what we're looking for this evening. So I really appreciate it.
I would have no problem also with that, but anyway, we'll talk about that in this discussion. So I do have a speaker card on this. I'd like to ask Peg Chapados if she would please come and speak to this matter.
Thank you, Vice Mayor, members of council. Having been somebody who's involved with a lot of nonprofits and also a professional event planner, I understand the dilemma that is faced by Maricopa in terms of lack of available meeting space. But I'd like to use this opportunity to address a specific instance of something that I'm directly involved with. I am the treasurer currently for Friends of the Maricopa Library, and we are a nonprofit that gives back approximately $10,000 every year right now to the city. I don't know of any other nonprofit currently doing that, but one of the things that we are faced with constantly is availability of the library. We respect the fact that it's a public meeting space and that we are trying to schedule things around normal business operations. However, we've been waiting to sign an MOU for approximately 17 months. We still haven't finalized it. So right now, we enjoy a very, very robust relationship with the library in that we can come in and schedule our book sales up to 6 a year. We do 4 mini sales and 2 large scales. We take up Redwood A and B with the big sales, and we take up the atrium with the mini sales, but only half of it. So we only use the north half. Where this becomes a challenge is the 6 months in advance, because we like to be able to market these sales because that revenue significantly generates the cash that we then can give back to fund the library programs. This year alone, we've funded the summer reading program to the tune of almost $4,000, and we've also bought equipment and supplies for the robotics lab, again, over $4,500. So we know we can do more if we can work together and try and find a way to solve this problem. Right now, what we're looking at is, and what we've been told, I don't know if this is accurate, the 6-month window is because of the way the city's reservation system works. Mr. Manfredi pointed out a good point. If you're trying to plan an anniversary or a wedding or a graduation party or retirement or something, sometimes you need that big window because there's also a tremendous amount of competition in the city for the available spaces as they currently sit. The other thing I'd like the council to seriously consider is the nature of the nonprofits that currently exist here. The Maricopa Community Foundation has a number of nonprofits that are registered. And one of the things that we've told them, and one of the things that you hear constantly is, how do you sustain yourself? How do you grow your memberships? How do you fulfill your mission and goals? You can't do that if every time you turn around, you're hit with a price tag. Now, I understand and I respect the need to make a business profit and to manage things responsibly. What I'd like to offer to council as an option to consider is perhaps looking at the bed tax that Maricopa now has. Our first hotel is up and running and it's been successful by all accounts. There's more coming. There's other things that we might be able to do to reach out to our business community to establish, if you will, for lack of a better term, a sponsorship fund to help some of these smaller nonprofits offset some of these rental costs. I know of several that charge minimal, $10 or under, for memberships. You cannot pay these fees and sustain your organization with all the requirements for insurance and supplies and all that other stuff on $10 a year from, 40 or 50 people. We have to work together to be creative and find other options of how we can do this until we get the private sector stepping in and saying, yes, I'll build a banquet hall or a facility. One of the things that was also discussed at the Futures Planning session was the conversion of the current police headquarters once the new police headquarters is built. That building is a golden opportunity for the citizens as well as the city to showcase a lot of what we do well here and make it part of the destination that you guys are all working so hard on. So also as chair of the Cultural Affairs and Arts Committee, I'd like to offer my committee to do additional research and discussion if you'd be so inclined, and also maybe reach out to some of the nonprofits and get their perspective of, do you do events at city facilities? If you do, what do you do? How often do you do it? What kind of fees do you have? And what kind of revenue has that helped or hindered you generate? Because without our nonprofits, we're not going to be a successful city and we're not going to unlock our full potential. So thank you very much for hearing this, and I look forward to hearing your deliberations. Thank you.
Thank you for your input, Peggy.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. As evidenced tonight, there is no one singular answer that addresses every need in every situation. On top of the obvious, we now have to look at equity, liability, fairness, and what you do for one, you have to do for all, whether they're a great group like the Friends of the Library, who certainly serve the community, or XYZ, who happens to be a nonprofit but maybe doesn't meet the standards of our community. So I think our goal tonight was just to establish some pro rata starts. I think Shane did a nice job of explaining that. And I would suggest, I can't speak to the 17 months, I've been involved with it now for a month or so, but an MOU could set forth things a year in advance. Certainly a contract like we discussed can set things a year in advance. But I think there's a lot of nuanced issues that we're not going to solve tonight, and be honest with you, I'm not sure we're going to solve after multiple hour meetings, but at some point we have to start and then address the nuances as they come up. And I suggest that they will continue to come up as the city grows. We'll have additional groups. When you think about nonprofits, most of our churches are technically nonprofits. We have the, I don't know if they're still here, our cat feline group, Whiskers, thank you, who also was asking for space tonight and shelter space. So I'd like to recommend maybe that we have a work session where we can have a more informal dialogue, and I would encourage those who are listening and others between now and when we do that to submit their comments and thoughts to us. We recognize that most of them submit their thoughts and concepts with very centric to what their needs are, and we have to look at the needs of all. But I would hope that at least from a rental point of view that the nonprofit resident base rate and non-resident rate makes sense. And frankly, I would agree with you, council member. I'd just assume that'd be 3,000% increase. Personally, we appreciate all those, but at the same time, they're not paying for the bond and they're not paying for the taxes that benefited. And as we grow, the capacity needs to be reserved for our citizens. So we'll take any thoughts you have tonight, but I would also ask that maybe we reconvene in a more informal setting for a more robust discussion at a later date.
Vice Mayor. The mayor said that her microphone isn't working, but she's hearing what we're saying. And she said that she would support a work session also. And so would I.
Further discussion? Yes, sir. Please step forward. State your name.
Pastor of the Door Church of Maricopa, which is.
Push the button on?
Am I on? It's green.
Okay.
Okay. Yes. So we are a nonprofit here, and I recognize this is a complex issue. Just a couple things that I would like to give for consideration for the council and the city staff. Some perhaps nuances. I didn't see, and perhaps I missed it, if there were ramadas included. And that's part of the park facilities that we certainly take advantage of for some of our events. I know this is a draft, not a comprehensive policy. One thing I noted, it seemed like there was a flat fee for the cleaning. Obviously, there's a difference between the smallest ramada at Copper Sky and something like Redwood A and B. I don't know if that's something that could be taken into consideration. Again, you death by 1,000 cuts, you have to have perhaps more of a standing policy, but it would seem there could be some distinctions. One thing, it's not the case for us. We're proud to be residents of Maricopa, but perhaps you'll have to clarify if there's a nonprofit or a business that the business entity is in Maricopa, but maybe the officers' mailing address perhaps are not in Maricopa. How would that be handled? And then as far as the matter of open to the public charging fees, it seems like perhaps from a fundraising perspective, again, our events are community outreach. We don't do this, but some nonprofits may find it helpful perhaps instead of charging fees to collect donations, and whether that could be handled. So I know you're looking for a working session in the future to probably collect some of this feedback, and I appreciate, let me say what I should have said up front, which I appreciate you thinking of nonprofits. This will be helpful to us, and I'm certain to many other nonprofits, but just in the spirit of giving some things to think about since I'm here right now, and the matter is before the council right now. And so I appreciate that. I'll be happy once the comments are publicized, or the venue for comments are publicized, to contribute online or in writing or however that's available. But again, thank you to the city staff for considering nonprofits. It's our pleasure to be here and to serve the community. There's wonderful people here, and it's a delight to be part of that, and we appreciate that opportunity, and thank you for the opportunity to weigh in just a little bit.
Thank you, Pastor, for your comments. Same with you, Peggy. Thank you. City Manager?
Just a couple of clarifications on the ramadas. We do have rental rates for those. This was just a partial listing, but if you want to reserve it, there's a fee. If you want to first come, first serve, and it's not reserved, you're welcome to use it and there is no cost. And on the nonprofits, they don't have to be based in the city, but they have to service the city. And that sometimes is a little bit by discretion. So the non-resident fee is the only one that you're either a resident or you're not. So, and part of the problem is to write all these clarifications, we'd end up with a 55-page manual, and which makes it hard for citizens. And then they say, "Can you give us something more simple that we can read quicker and easier?" It's kind of like our sign discussion, right? So. It's funny how we can approve a $150 million budget pretty quick, but things like this and signs, we can spend hours and hours and weeks on. So it's very difficult, but the comments tonight are very helpful, and we're appreciative of them.
Okay. Just there's no other speakers. This concludes our agenda for tonight. Thank you for coming. The meeting is adjourned.